today.
Let's talk about today.
You go at national state level, you have to run non-sale, it's wholesale.
Is like 9,000.
The only mistake I made, I didn't put her in a registration booth with the
Just this ever-evolving story.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Let's Scroll Pulling every single Monday night at 7:30. It's May the 12th, current edition. This is your number one source for all things truck and tractor pulling. If you're ready to keep the weekend going, or if you just need to bounce back after a long weekend of pulling, joining me tonight, bringing on a new co-host, gonna kind of see how things are jiving out there. Is it Lewisburg?
Right out of Lewisburg, Kansas.
Out of Lewisburg, Kansas. We got Logan Stevens on here out of the Wheatland Express, or the Wheatland Motorsports team, mini rods and lots of horsepower out there in Southeast Kansas. We're going to be chatting with him. He's going to be helping me out here for the foreseeable future. Big show tonight, folks. Here's what we have on tap. Kristie Secrest, nothing easy about it. She was your Friday night winner at the Hansel Sullivan Memorial Pull down there in Kentucky. She's excited to talk to us. Ethan Weston, he's your pilot of the Deer Hunter Limited Pro Stock, and he's got a long lineage of tractors he wants to talk to us about, as well as preparing for the Pullers Championship. And then finally, last segment of the show, Scott Buss, the driver of the Screamin' Demon and the Demon Be Gone John Deere's back in the 1980s. He's going to hop on and tell us some stories for pulling through the past. Big show tonight. We're excited about it. Logan, thanks for joining us tonight, man. I know you reached out to Jason and then kind of reached out to me. How's it feel to be on your first Let's Grow Pulling podcast?
Well, I'd like to say this is my first, but I was actually with you and Jason a little while back towards the beginning of the season. But no, it's an honor to be a part of this. It's a real big stepping stone for me, and I feel that it's going to be a good time for the foreseeable future.
Tell us about your past, or your just where you're at in the world of truck and tractor pulling. For anyone who doesn't know, what do you drive? How'd you get into it? And then how did that lead to you wanting to get onto the broadcasting side as well?
So I started whenever I was 7 years old, pulling garden tractors out back, and I've just progressed my way through the ranks. My dad has always been a big proponent of it. He started off with mini rods, and then whenever I finally turned the golden age of 16, we decided that, what do we really want to do? And we're like, let's go chase mini rods. So we picked up our first Grand National Series mini rod and haven't looked back since. And now we have 3 light mods, 3 minis, and a whole bunch of horsepower.
And no small amount of success as well. We were chatting during the day earlier today. You guys came in around 4th in the Big Point Series this year. Tell us about your season.
So overall, we had a really good season. Came out with the goal to just get a top 5. And after round 2, we put her right at a 4th. And so we honestly surprised ourselves quite a bit with that. Worked our way up to 2nd in the points with the Pro Pulling League, and fought through a little bit of struggles, as with anything, and bounced back and placed ourselves 4th in the nation, 1 position right out of the instant invite for the Pullers Championship, which we will hopefully try to get into one of these days. But all in all, we had a very good season, some ups and downs, but it's all about the family.
Yeah, well said. I like that you talk about that Pullers Championship. We talk a lot about, and we'll talk tonight with Brent Yarn and with Easton about how that's become such a destination pull. It's become a resume pull. When the pullers themselves are saying, man, we want to be there. That's how we know that pull is evolving into something special. And folks, it is Pullers Championship week. This is the week it goes down, Friday and Saturday, May 16th and 17th. Make sure that you find your way out to Nashville, Illinois. And the games are up as well. Head on out there, fullpull.us. Cash games are up on that. We're going to talk about why those cash games can make for things so interesting. Now, what people might not realize, Logan, you're a very well-spoken individual. You're very comfortable here on the podcast, comfortable driving. But, you're only, 16, 17, 18 years old? You're kind of a young gun in all this, correct?
I'm a junior in high school. I'm a 17, turning 18 here towards the end of the season. And I guess I've just kind of grown up with this, being comfortable, always having a camera in your face. And I've developed a love for it because it's a new way to express anything and promote the sport to the youngsters. Like, this sport heavily needs youngsters with how many older folks that are going to be phased out here within the next 10, 15 years.
We're gonna see a lot of Hall of Fame inductees. I'll put it that way within the next 10 to 15 years, because there are. I mean, you're absolutely right. There's so many of these first or second generation pullers of legendary status that have been carrying the mantle for 40 plus years, and you couldn't be more spot on with the recognition that it's time to start moving to the next generation. Great to see you doing that out on the track and also doing it here in the social media world. That's pulling double duty, and that's kind of everything we stand for here at Beer Money Pulling Team. I had moral qualms today, though. So this is, I've got to address this. My full-time job, my real job, I am a school teacher. Now, we don't work on Mondays. We're in a unique district where we only teach 4 days a week. So Mondays are my working day. But I needed to communicate with you some things we had to do today. Now, at 9:30, we were doing a lot of texting back and forth. Now, unless Kansas has a very delayed school system, were your teachers allowing you to communicate all day today, or were you keeping that on the down low?
So that was one of those deals, keeping it on the down low. But I was in the middle of band class, so when we were just working throughout the different sections of it. And another thing is, like with you, my mom's a school teacher. So I've had the honor of having her. But no, Kansas is just a bit behind, and we have a little bit of freedom.
If I didn't know how I wanted to play this when the principal was going to come in and take your phone. I didn't know if you were supposed to say, hey, it's all right, I'm talking with a teacher, he says it's okay. Or I'm about to go on something called Beer Money, so we're going to have to be careful about how we do that. Either way, we love having you here, getting the next generation involved. That's what it's all about. You mentioned the Pullers Championship. I mentioned the live games being up. Live games were up in Glencoe, Kentucky this past weekend. One of my assignments for the Beer Money Pulling Team and with Full Pull, they wanted me to go out and advise the public. They said, hey, who are your picks? This is something I've been doing. They said, Mike, kind of weigh in, post it on Beer Money Pulling Team. If you were wagering, which in the state of Missouri, I can't do that yet still, but if you were, who would you pick and why? Now, folks, it's in video proof. Before we bring her on, we've got the video. Kenzie, go ahead and show the world who I had my play money wagering on this weekend. I'm going way off the rails. My two picks are going to be your longest odds to win. Sometimes you got to do that if you're wanting to hit big, but I'm going to talk to you guys about why. Here's my two picks. Pick number one, Brent Secrest. Nothing easy about it. Brent Secrest in that T bucket. I'm fairly certain I didn't go out and look. Isn't he like your NTPA 2022 or 2023 Grand National Champion? That's a championship caliber truck at 23.75 to 1. That's almost 24 to 1. The other one. All right. So there it is. Without further ado, let's bring her on. It wasn't Brent in the driver's seat. It was Kristie. Let's welcome Kristie Secrest to the show, and let's talk to her about Kristie. There it is. The proof's in the pudding. You were my Friday night pick to win. It's not very often that actually happens the way that you try to draw it up. What did it mean to you to be the winner down there on Friday night at a huge group of two-wheel drive trucks?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Sorry about my voice a little bit. I have weekend cold going on a little bit from the night damp air and from so much screaming. So Yeah, it was pretty huge. There were several trucks that were there. It was like pulling at Bowling Green almost because there were
Sure.
so many of us. There was 30, 36 the first night, 38 the second night. And as a matter of fact, at the end of the run on Friday night, when I took the lead, Brent told me not to get out of the truck. They held us at the end of the track for a few minutes. And he said, don't get out of your truck. We're going to end up getting bumped out of first place and going back to the trailer. And I was the fifth hook out of like 36. So I finally looked at him after about 7 trucks and said, can I get out of the truck yet? I need a drink of water. I need to move. So yeah, it was pretty amazing.
What I found interesting and what it looked like kind of played to your favor too. And we've got your runs and we'll take a look at them here in a second. You had that beautiful spot in the class lineup right when the sun kind of starts to fall behind the horizon. That track for the light limited supers, I noticed, looked a little firm, looked a little like they were having trouble biting into it. Did the sun setting and that moisture coming up, did that track get better right there for a little bit for you?
It actually did. There was probably about 6, 8 trucks that had a really good shot. And like I said, there were so many good quality people later in the class that the track could have went either way. It could have gotten better as the moisture come back out, or it could have, got a little slick because they had rain and a lot of moisture earlier in the week down there. And that's pretty much what happened, was that the ones you thought were going to come and really get you were later in the class. And I think the track just got a little slick, just a smidge for them. So they didn't get quite the whole shot that we got for those 6 or 8 trucks.
So with there having been moisture already in there and with them having been kind of wet, you knew that was on its way too as that sun continued to set. So there really was a sweet spot of a window, not to take away from, we don't want to make the narrative be, oh, well, she won because she had the right draw, but there was a sweet spot. You still had to take care of business. Tell us about just the run. How did it feel from your perspective?
Oh, the run was amazing. I really tend to be a nervous driver. So as long as I can keep myself calm, or my husband, Brent, of course, can keep me pretty calm for that driver's seat, the better off I am. And I had some trouble getting it into gear. Everything was brand new from the winter. We redid a lot of stuff. So to get it onto the track, I had a little bit of issues getting it into gear. Other competitors come and helped. But once I finally got out there, I tried not to let that bother me, and I didn't. So that made me really excited. The pass itself was just about being smooth on that throttle. If you're too fast on that throttle, you spin those tires, and that is not what you want. So it ended up working well, and I was pretty pleased and pretty shocked.
Logan, you drive a mini rod, and I've talked to some other people, Chase Richardson being a friend of ours who works with us a lot, who bounces back and forth between both. Kristie's talking about throttle control. Now, I've actually heard with the minis, you can be pretty aggressive. Have you driven a 2-wheel drive, or can you compare them at all, Logan? What's your driving style like?
So, yeah, I've been behind the wheel of 2-wheeler a few times with just trucks that have moved through our stable. And people say with the mini rods, you can light them up, but we feel here that you kind of have to wait on them a little longer than some people say, like you would driving a 2-wheeler. Yeah, you can just blow the tires off of it, but you're just sitting there and spinning. And Kristie's got it completely right, is you have to get everything moving and that energy built up before that track's really ready to take the power of what these motors are building.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well said. That's spot on. Was the whole shot even more crucial down there in Kentucky than it typically is, or is that just where the pulls are won and lost for you guys?
It plays a huge part into it as the whole shot goes. It's where you build your most speed up to get further down that track. So it plays a huge part for us, no matter what kind of track we're on.
Let's go ahead. We've talked a lot about it. Go ahead, Logan.
At what point in the run did you know that this thing was finally hooked in and heading for the announcer stand on the end of the track?
About the time your nose picks up off the ground, and the 2-wheeler, of course, your nose picks up off the ground. And if you can get it to pick up and settle without touching back down, you're on a great path. It kind of takes you and throws you back into that seat with the force.
I hear a lot of pro stock drivers describe it that way. They say when it sets you backwards, and of course you're talking about carrying that front end kind of gently all the way through. Let's watch it. I think one of the best things we can do, Kenzie, why don't you go ahead and play the Friday night run, and then everything that Kristie's telling us about, we'll take a look at it right here.
So 333.49.
It's fun to talk about the technical aspects of it, but the other side that I love the competitive side, and I love the emotion. You can see your live reaction right there. What was going through your mind at the end of that run when you threw your hands up?
That I did exactly what my husband wanted. I
What
went
did he-
A to B and went over 300 and some feet. And at that point, I still thought Russ was ahead of me because I didn't hear his distance. It's so hard to hear from one end to the other. But come to find out, no, he wasn't. So that made me even more excited.
And you guys, you're good friends with the Nichols as well, as I've learned today. Do you guys travel together a lot, work together? What's that dynamic like?
We are very, very close with Russ and Kelly. As a matter of fact, Kelly and I call each other sisters. So we're just that close with it. And with her beautiful pass on Saturday, the funny part of that was she got to the end of the track on Saturday because I was leading at the point in time when she ran, and she bumped me out, and she come running up to me out of the truck. I'm so sorry, but yay. And I'm like, don't dare apologize to me. I'm so excited for you. So yeah, we're very, very close friends. We even go in the winter times and see them and hang out and do some stuff with them. Robert and Russ and Kelly, they have, of course, the Nichols Precision Tire Cutting and do our tires for us. And so it's just kind of slowly progressed with the friendships and hanging out all summer together and working together to try to see what works best for our trucks.
Absolutely. That's cool that you guys do that. I made the mistake. I got in a hurry today, and I was trying to bounce back and forth between talking to you and talking to Kelly and talking to Brent. And I was trying to talk to a lot of people to make sure that you had received all the information. And my finger started typing out Kristie Secrest somewhere along there. And everyone says, "You mean Kristie, right? Or are you trying to get Kelly?" And I said, okay. And then Kelly actually messaged me back, and she goes, "You know what? We'll just be twins from here on out, and you can just talk to either one of us." So that might be how we have to play that in the future.
Absolutely. That'd be fun.
That's great.
Love them so much. They're great people.
And obviously, the work they're doing there with the tire cutting, the proof's in the pudding from what we saw this weekend as well.
Yeah, they had a really good show a few years ago down at Louisville as well. They're getting better and better with what we're doing with the tires and what they're doing on their end with the tires. And so, yeah, very exciting stuff.
Definitely. Robert Miner was just checking in with a good comment down here. Wants to know, when did you start pulling? What got you into this great event?
Oh, wow. So way back when, my husband and brother both got into motorsports in a different aspect of doing demolition derbies. And so I kind of come up through the ranks with that. And then when Brent and Shane collaborated together to do a pulling truck, we started out with naturally aspirated. And I jumped in the seat a couple times, but it was completely different from a blower truck. So, and as a matter of fact, in 2017 is when I really sit down. I had did a couple of open shows with the blower truck. And when we first got it, I told Brent I wouldn't dare climb in the seat. And now I'm kicking him out of his seat and going, I was the seat the whole time. But we share. So it was about 2017 when I jumped in, and he started showing me and telling me and explaining things to me, how everything worked and how I needed to be smooth on my throttle. And if I could be consistent, it would help him with setting the truck. And so, yeah, 2017 is about when I started.
Logan, you look like you kind of shook your head in total understanding. I'm assuming you've got some past experiences with NA motors as well as blower motors. How would you compare the two of them when you drive?
And they're completely different beasts from one another. It's like driving a good old Honda Miata to a big old semi truck. The power right there at your fingertips is completely different than just one's a Cadillac and the other's a Ferrari.
Absolutely. Great explanation.
Well said. Yeah, no, this is fun. And this is why we look forward to having Logan on the show. I have never the highest horsepower thing they let me hold on to is a microphone. So, it's a lot of fun to be able to bounce this off of there. A lot of response then when you get into that throttle and you see those butterflies come open. So what do you and Brent talk about? You said you did exactly what he told you to do, A to B pass over 300 feet. Does he still drive? Do you split it? Do you do most of the driving? What are your roles and what does he kind of say to you before each pull?
So we both take turns driving. It just depends on what track and where we're at. Each of us prefer our own different types of tracks, so to speak. And then there's sometimes I'm actually in a accounting position, so I can't miss the end of the month for work. So there's like Rockwell, Iowa this year he'll have to go to. As far as what our roles are, I used to do nothing but all the bookkeeping as far as keeping track of who placed where, distances, names of vehicles, learning who people were, cleaning the truck, packing the trailer, helping with whatever I can in the shop, that kind of stuff. Brent does, of course, a lot of the behind the scenes motor work as far as making sure everything's good for the next run. We don't need to take it down and anything like that. So, and as far as what he says to me, he just does his best of telling me where on the track to go to, picking what gear we run, picking, how fast I should run my throttle, telling me to speed it up a little bit, slow it down a little bit, and trying to keep me calm.
Sure.
So you guys each have a different track that suits your driving style best. What's some of your favorite tracks that you've pulled on throughout the years? Where is the spot that does you the best, and what spot can you not have any luck at?
My favorite is Bowling Green. I don't know why. I've just done well there. I've got a first, I've got a second, I've got a third, different years. So I love Bowling Green, and Bowling Green distresses him out. There's just so many people and so much going on, and he's kind of I want to stay behind the scenes kind of guy. So no, that's probably one of my favorites. Napoleon, Ohio is one of the ones that I tend to not do the best at, but Brent loves and does well at. So, and also he loves Toma. Toma, Wisconsin's one of his favorites, and he places well there. So we kind of work it that way to try to get the best advantage we can get for ourselves when we go somewhere as to who's the better driver on what track.
It's not hard to see what kind of a team you guys are and what your kind of your caliber and what your sights are. When we say, what's your favorite? And you say Bowling Green, and what's his favorite? And he says Toma. You pick out the two super national pulls that you guys go to each year. Yeah. That tells us that you guys are, you're shooting for the stars here. And I went back and looked it up. You guys were Grand National champions in 2022. What's left that you guys are still looking to accomplish? What are some things that are still on your goal list?
Of course, you always want to win another championship. That's one of my personal goals is I would love to win a BG ring. Yeah. I never thought in a million years in 2021 that I would win Bowling Green. We were 18th hook out of 42, 44. I forget how many trucks, but it was over 40. And I was relatively new to it. So that was huge. That's something I want. And Brent, I'm sure, wants more personal wins. So it doesn't really matter what track. Our biggest thing is consistency. Try to stay up in the top as much as you can for as long as you can. And it boils down to consistency. You've got to keep getting those top 10 finishes week in and week out. So that's something we shoot for every year. Last year just wasn't a good year for us. So
is consistency key? Your class intrigues me so much. Like, let's pretend that we were pulling diesel super stocks, and there's, maybe at any given point, 6 to 10 on a big night, 15 tractors at the biggest pull that they're pulling with. It's no secret. The numbers just are what they are in that class. But in your class, at any given night, I mean, at a non-Grand National pull, you guys went down there 38 hooks. I mean, there are so many, be it Outlaw, NTPA, PPL, TNT, it doesn't matter even if it's state or regional. When there's that many good competitors, is consistency just the name of the game of how you come out when you're pulling against so many of them all the time?
I think so, yeah. I mean, you have so many good trucks. Like Chase was after us on Friday night. You had Jesse with at least 2 trucks after us, Jesse and Chad, actually. Nelson's were there. And like you said, they're from all over. They're Outlaw, they're NTPA, they're PPL. Everybody was there. So the quality of vehicles in this class is just amazing. And the quality of drivers, there's so many tough competitors. But you got to stay consistent and do your best every night to try to win something, especially like the Big Ed that we were second in. So, yeah, consistency is definitely a key, especially in a points race.
Talk to us about that Big Ed challenge. The Big Ed Red and the Sullivans, they are, the groundwork of your class. I mean, it was essentially born right there out of their stable. That truck and that team kind of just are heroic in this. What's it like to be competing for that? You guys got second in it. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Just tell us about that experience. That's got to be neat.
It was very neat because my run on Saturday, I didn't feel was quite as good as my run on Friday. I had to touch a brake a little bit, and I probably didn't have to. I probably made myself a little nervous and touched one and shouldn't have. So it cost us some footage. But yeah, being able to be able to get the Big Ed is just huge because it's an average finish of both Friday and Saturday. So you have to be consistent to get that. So it comes down to me, Carrie Younger, and Russ Nichols, of course.
Yeah.
Russ had better finishes. I think he ended up with 6 points, and I ended up with 11th, tied with Carrie. But because we got a win on Friday night, we were second. Carrie was third. So, and it meant a lot because Donnie and Brent are personal friends, and so Big Ed is the challenge was just huge. So.
And you said, I haven't made it to the Saturday night session yet. I'm going to go back full pull live, folks. You can go back and watch at any point in time. Russ did come out victorious on the Big Ed challenge.
Yep.
So if you're going to lose to somebody, going with that back to the Nichols, are you probably a little bit comfortable? If you guys went 1 and 2, were you feeling pretty good in the pits on Saturday night then?
Oh, we were all having a ball. Yes. Everybody. I don't know that comfortable is the word because you still had to do your job on Saturday after Friday, but we were pretty excited with how things turned out for both of us on Friday. So, yeah. And then when Kelly come out and made that huge run and then Russ right behind her on Saturday, it's just exciting because we're just so close. So you don't ever really want nobody to do bad. I don't want anybody to do bad.
Sure.
But, if I've got to lose, I want it to be to them.
Sure. Yeah, precisely. Brent's chiming in with all the information that I'm hoping to have too. So you guys have 2 seconds, and you've actually won this twice. You've won the Big Ed Challenge twice. Am I reading that correctly?
Correct. Yes.
Awesome.
He has won. This is the first time I've won, but he has won before.
Oh, okay. Okay. I want to go back. So you've talked about what he says to you when you're in the driver's seat and you're backing up and getting ready to drop the hook and go green. Mm-hmm. When he's driving, what do you usually say to him?
Do your thing.
Bend it and send it, right?
Just relax, take a deep breath. You've got this. You know what you're doing.
Sure.
So,
sure.
No, and he does. He has a lot more experience than me, but yeah.
That's awesome. One other thing I want to talk about, and Kinsey, you can go ahead and throw this up too, just on our still graphics. If you want to put the Nothing Easy About It Friday night picture, you guys debuted kind of some new graphics, a new wrap on this thing. And I saw on your social media, I think you guys are very proud of this. Why don't you kind of highlight it and just tell us about your beautiful machine? I mean, that's got to make you happy seeing that all dolled up like that.
Oh yeah. Special thanks to Race Wraps, Mick and Christine Broughton. Did this beautiful wrap the weekend before Donnie's show at Glencoe at the TNT show. So they've still got to get the name. They're going to bring the name down this week and put it on. But yeah, sticking with our red and black theme that we've always had. So yeah, kind of picked out a couple different designs, ended up picking that one. We both loved it. And so that's what we went with.
Perfect. Beautiful.
So
Go ahead,
Mike
Logan.
brings up, he mentioned diesel superstock pulling. So if you were to go one way, if you say, okay, we're not going to do two-wheelers anymore, which class would you gravitate towards?
Oh, I think that would depend on who you asked. Whether it be Brent or whether it be me. Brent would go a tractor class. You'd have to ask him. I can't remember if it's a light super or a heavy super. I would, or a limited, I don't remember. I would go probably to, I'm guessing, a four-wheel.
Okay.
If I had to pick, if you ask Kelly, she'd probably tell you a mini rod.
Would you keep the blower motor and go with the blower motor four-wheel drive like they do back in Ohio, or would you go with the Hagedorn boys and go mountain motor four-wheel drive pulling naturally aspirated?
No, it would be a blower for me.
Oh, I did not anticipate that. Good question. Fun response.
That would definitely be a blower for me.
Wow.
Mike's favorite class, no secret. Everybody knows I love the door slammers. I love the mountain motors. There's so many of them right here in Missouri. I love that modified four-wheel drive. The super modified four-wheel drive trucks, they pulled on Saturday night, didn't they, down there in Kentucky with the blower motor four-wheel drive trucks?
Yep. Miss Blair's outfit.
What's your opinion of those? A big, long wheelbase? I mean, is that something that, you think's pretty cool?
I love the looks of them. Yeah.
They are super interesting, for sure.
They are.
Yep.
They are. One of our good friends that's down in Tennessee, Mr. Larry Douthit, that's what he pulled Saturday night and took second in that class. So that was pretty awesome to see too. He got to hang out with us and we got to see him. So
that would be a neat class. I would like to see that class grow. I feel like there's no reason that it shouldn't. It's got all the potential out there. You just take the super modified aspect and you put it on the four-wheel drive class. And that would be a fun one to see, kind of maybe go Grand National or go Champions Tour. I saw Brent commenting in. He did say light super stock. That would be where he would go. That'd be kind of neat. I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of vehicles out there. Maybe a red and black light super, maybe keep the two-wheeler, maybe get a truck. We can do it all. Hey, Kristie, this has been a ton of fun.
Thank you so much.
Where will we see you guys next? And who do you need to thank, or what's your shout out you need to give while you're here online?
I think the next is going to end up probably being an OSTPA show at Wauseon. Our first Grand National will be at Choma with Brent driving. Huge shout out to multiple people.
Sure.
First off, SSI, all the guys at SSI, they do us so well. Boyd Performance, Sajax Transport, Hot Shot Secret, of course, Russ and Kelly and Robert at Nichols Precision Tire Cutting. A couple locals that I've never really hit much on. Lockwood Performance done a lot for us over the years, and Nye Automotive did a lot for us over the years. So that was even back in our naturally aspirated days. So I want to give a huge shout out to those guys. Lots of people, lots of team to get us to where we're at.
Definitely takes a village. You've surrounded yourself, though, by great people. I love the enthusiasm. I love how you talk about just the friendships, and I can just read that in your personality about how much fun you guys have with the Nichols family and about doing that. Your season's off to a really good start. The truck's a tried and true vehicle. It's looking beautiful. Best of luck in your 2025 season. Go out there, get a couple more victories. Consistency wins championships. I would not be surprised if I picked your name a couple more times on the Full Pull Picks before the year is over. Good luck in 2025. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
All right, that was Kristie Secrest. Don't get fat fingers and type too quickly and call her Kelly all afternoon in your social media. And while I am making amends for names done incorrectly, and I've learned this, a puller is nothing if not a name. It's the most important thing they had. I did watch this weekend, and I saw the Sawmill Express go down the track, and I heard the announcers introduce him as Tim Beatty. And I do want to make a correction, and I want to own up for a mistake. We had him on the show a couple of weekends ago, and I introduced him in the show as Tim Beatty. I believe that's pronounced Tim Beatty of the Sawmill Express, so my apologies to him. And we always want to make sure that we stay on top of that. biggest pull in the country. Logan, what's the biggest pull in the country coming up this weekend?
Well, it's looking like it's going to be the Pullers Championship this coming weekend.
Pullers Championship, May 16th and 17th. Let's go from noise. We had the noise, the super modified two-wheel drive trucks. Let's blow some smoke. Every good show's got to have noise and smoke. Ethan Weston, limited pro stock tractor, going to be pulling at the Pullers Championship. He's going to be our next guest. Kinsey, if you want to go ahead and bring him on, drives a tractor. He calls the deer hunter. And look at that. Talk about the deer hunter himself. Boy, oh boy, is there a deer back there for every John Deere that you've taken down over the history, or is that just what you love to do when you're not tractor pulling?
That's just what I like to do when we ain't doing nothing else.
Hey, I love it, man. Thanks for joining us on the show. Pullers Championship, limited pro stocks. How are we feeling? What's it mean to you to be headed to Nashville, Illinois?
Never been there, so we're excited.
Absolutely. Talk to us about your 2024 season. Maybe hit some highlights that kind of put your team on the radar and kind of tell us why folks need to be paying attention to you as we go into this weekend.
Well, 2024, we started out with the light limited. Pulled it since 2010. Past couple of years, we've really turned up the wick with it. Brent Payne up there at GMS really helped us out. Patrick O'Brien helped us out quite a bit there at the end. We pulled it in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Right after Louisiana, we had a bad ride in Louisiana. I ended up in the hospital actually with it, and then got it back together because we blew the charger. Took it to Patrick, got it all back together. Pulled it at Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. Was our second hook of the year last year. Pulled on Friday night. Didn't get to pull Saturday night because it got rained out. And then Mr. Kelly Keith ended up coming up Sunday and actually bought it. And then that was when we got on the hunt looking for a pro. And we ended up with the Ratterman's deer hunter.
Hey, I'm going to have you do one thing before we go much further. I think you're talking to us on your phone. If you're on your phone, go ahead and turn it sideways for us, and it's going to tilt that, and it's going to fill the screen. That's going to give all our folks at home a more full view. So you shifted classes. Am I hearing this story correctly? Mid-season.
Yep, we sure did. We ended up buying the Ratterman's 4-1, the deer hunter, and then started hitting a little bit here and there, not consistent. And we did pretty good, and we got probably 3 or 4 seconds. We finished in the top 10 the whole season, and then our very last hook, I won.
So what's it like hopping vehicles halfway through the season, selling one, picking up another, completely changing and jumping classes?
Well, to be honest with you, it's totally different. The light limited is so much more radical than the 4-1. 4-1's got a lot more horsepower, but the light limited happens a lot quicker.
Was your light limited an alky burner, or was it a smoke blower as well?
Oh, we're always smoke.
Oh, okay. That you say none of that, no spark plugs in this household, right?
Dad and they did the mini rods. They did spark plugs back in the day, but ever since I've come along, it's always been diesel.
Yeah, I love it. I love contacting pullers like yourself who share kind of the family history and kind of send me the photos. And you did a phenomenal job of that. And you better bet we're going to go through those. I'm going to let you tell the whole story from the mini rod all the way up to maybe a new build that you guys have working and waiting in the wings back there where you can tell us about everything. Where do you typically pull? I know that we kind of chatted and touched base a little bit after Hammond, Louisiana. Are you guys Mid-South, TNT? Where are you based out of?
We're Mid-South through and through, PPL. Great organization.
And where are you personally located at?
I live in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Okay.
30 minutes east of Nashville, Tennessee on I-40.
Okay. Awesome. So you pulled Mid-South, went from the light limited super stock jumped over into the limited pro stock. Logan kind of highlighted how, the driving style is different. You said that light limited, it was kind of a rodeo out there. Talk to us about the limited pro. So is it just torque and grunt, or is one easier to drive than the other? Or, expand on that if you can.
Me personally, the limited pro is easier to drive. Yeah, you got a lot more horsepower, a lot more grunt, and you got something between your legs. The light limited, you got something between your legs, but you don't know what's going to happen next.
You got 3,000 more pounds to play with, my friend, or maybe even closer to 4,000 more pounds. Is it just so much easier to put that on the track, to say, hey, we're taking this weight. There's a reason it's the biggest advantage in pulling, and I can plant this to the track instead of you surprising me when you get a bite out there at the 200-foot mark or something.
Yeah, and it really helped that I started hot farm, then we went to super farm, then then we went back to something heavy. So it really helped that we were started with something heavy so we could go back to our roots basically and know what to do to try to get it to hook. It ain't bad, but we're slowly getting it.
Let's walk through that, because I think that's going to help us see the whole story here. And you sent us the photos and they're excellent. It's a lot of fun. So we'll save the mini rod. I'll do that kind of as a separate story at the end. We'll talk about just maybe your tractors at first. Tell us about what we're looking at right here.
That was about 2008. I was still in high school, and my dad actually built that tractor. We bought it. It was total junk, and we built it into it, or was. But the whole story behind it was to keep me out of trouble in high school. If he built that, then he'd keep me out of trouble, keep me busy there at the farm, and I wouldn't be out gallivanting or riding around doing stuff I shouldn't be doing. So we pulled that for 2 or 3 years, and then we built a super farm. And but it all started at the hot farm, and I'm going to tell you that was the most fun we ever had was hot farm.
So this is your 12,000-pound hot farm. This is your homework assignment. This is what keeps you busy, so you're not out chasing the girls and doing donuts in the parking lot and whatnot. And then you graduated up to super farm. That's a good-looking machine, and that looks like it's on a good pass right there. Tell us about this one.
We built it. It originally was John Pitt's Raging Bull out of Franklin, Kentucky. We bought parts and pieces off of it, and that was basically John's tractor with our power plant. Of course, we changed some things just like anybody else would, but it was a good running piece. Didn't have nowhere near the money the other boys have in the super farms, but we run right there with them at the time.
How long did you go super farming before you mixed it up?
We had super farm from 2008 to 2010. And then we were already started building the light limited. There is not a year since 2008 we didn't have something to hook to a sled. So
then we go light limit. Now, to me, this is an interesting jump because all of these classes are your big, heavy pro stock family, single charger. And I know the light limited probably is a single charger too, but I can see going hot farm to super farm to 4-1, but then you decided I'm going to cut my weight in, 2/3 here. And I'm going to go, big tire, super stock pulling. How did you guys find yourself going down the track on this thing?
Well, it all started when we built the super farm. Daddy built this tractor, and he was going to pull the light limited, and I was going to keep pulling the super farm. Well, back then around here, stuff kept changing, new turbos, this, that, whatever. Well, the light limiteds was really getting good and fired up around here. So we just decided to farm and just focus on one because we work an everyday job. We do construction. We couldn't afford to keep two going, and much less a super farm that was costing something every year. So we just went ahead and just did the light limited, and it stuck, and we loved it.
Where did the super farm end up?
The super farm ended up going to Maryland. Upstate Maryland.
Okay. And then I want to hear about some of the specs on your light limited super. Single charger under 400 cubic inch, or what was the Mid-South specs on these?
470 at the end. It was 470 3.4 P pump, and just however much you wanted to spend, really, to be on top.
470 cubic inch, so a lot bigger than I realized or that I would have guessed. But just a single charger on it.
Yep.
But as big. If you could turn it, you could put it on there.
Oh, 3.4 before.
3.4. Okay. So that now the Alki guys. Did you guys get to weigh more than them, or was there some sort of kind of split, or you all ran the exact same and
all 6250?
All the same weight? Did they get more or less on the cubes or the chargers or anything, or it was just
they're smaller cubed?
Smaller cube. Okay. So they let you guys run a little bit bigger motor, but they didn't give it to them on the weight side, where you see some associations will do that.
Yeah, like you got some diesels, like Richard Taylor. I think he's 410 with a cooler.
Yeah.
And we're neck and neck, and he's stout to handle. But with a 410 with a cooler, that thing would run.
Sure. But you said this one had some catastrophic failure mid-year last year.
Well, first catastrophic failure was I split the whole rear end transmission in half.
Yeah.
Hartsville, Alabama, had a Mid-South hook. We had just got the motor back, and we found the weak link. It split the right behind the bell housing transmission and the rear end. The bull pinion cages let go, then the bull pinions, then the bull gears. It was catastrophic. We had to load it back on a trailer with a backhoe. And then last year, we popped a brand new charger and ended up getting the head and everything. Kevin Hall got it fixed, and then it was running good. And then Kelly Keith come along and bought it, and now he's campaigning it.
There you go. So that brings us up to speed. This is the one we're taking to the Pullers Championship this weekend. What is your draw? What's your hook? I know they've done the live draw shows on it. Friday night, do you know where your pull order is?
Friday night, I'm 8th hook. Saturday night, I'm 1st hook.
Would you rather, everyone's got their opinion on this. You like hooking early? You like hooking late, middle of the class? What's your bread and butter spot? And what's it like knowing an entire week in advance?
Be honest with you, I don't care. It's all about fun. If I had to really, really choose, I'd rather be mid-pack.
So your Friday night spot, that should work well for you. So we're going up Nashville, Illinois. First time there, you've not been there before, voted in by the fans. This is going to give you, you get to watch that track develop. You get to watch a couple of them, your middle of the pack where you said you'd like to be. Should give you all the data that you need, or at least some data anyway, to turn around Saturday night and kind of put it to the ground. What are your goals? Now, this is a stupid question. I'll tell you this right now before I ask it, because the answer is, well, the goal is to win, Mike. Why are you asking me this? But outside of that, what are you going into Nashville? What are some like benchmarks you're setting for yourself while you're up there this weekend?
Well, we're putting a new set of rubbers on, new set of tires. Aaron Doctors hooked us up, Chad Mayhill. I think, if I remember right, there's only one other tractor that's got them. So we're going to be the guinea pig this weekend, and going to try them out, but I just hope they work, because we're trying to get ready for our season. And if they work, I think we got a good chance to be in the top runner.
Tires are, I would say, the hottest kind of aspect in pulling right now. You always go through these phases. You go through the phase where you got to have the neatest, sweetest, most completest horsepower, or then it's, the new turbocharger, or then it's, where we're going to put our weight, as we've seen with the modified guys moving their seats all over the place. The tires over the past 4 or 5 years, I think we've seen impact this sport tremendously. When Mitos came out with theirs, and then the whole shots came out, and now you guys are trying something new. If the stars align, and we've seen it several times, this could bode very, very well for you guys. So fingers crossed. This could be, this seems to be the thing in pulling. If you've got the right shoes on, the results happen. So that'll be neat to see how that pans out.
Yeah, we're excited. Either way, if we win or we just really screw up, as long as he goes back on the trailer running, we're happy. It's all about way. So
let's talk here a little bit. So throughout your season, you pull down in Alabama and the South through all those hooks, Kentucky and all that there. What's your plans for changing soil types a little bit? Talk us through the tracks that you pull on throughout the year, and then coming up to this hard clay Midwest soil.
Well, down here, we got a mixture of both throughout the season. Early part of the season, the soil was real good and rich and pretty good hook and track. Towards the end of the year, it starts to really dry out, and it's hard to keep the moisture in. So, I mean, we've pretty much pulled from sand down in Louisiana to red clay in Kentucky we've pulled on all of them, but I mean, we're excited and hope everything works out.
Are you going to have to bring any different tuning setups or different gears or anything to combat this tackier soil, or are we just going to run the same setup?
We got some ideas, and we're I think we're on the right track, and we've been talking to the engine guy and tire guy, and we've been even talking to the Rattermans, and Craig is trying to get us lined out, and Chad's got us lined out. So we're hoping we can put all the dots together and make a good solid pass.
Do you use a lot of video on that? Are you the type to go in and maybe watch some of the Pullers Championships highlights or full pulls from the past couple of years, now that we can do that online and social media, and kind of pay attention to that? Does that impact your setup and your decision?
Absolutely. If I ain't never been there before, I'll get on YouTube.
Yeah.
My wife hates it, but I'll put it on the bed. And I study, and sometimes I just keep rewinding it and just trying to watch different things, trying to get an idea of what I can expect.
What are you seeing out of this track up here in Central Illinois?
Well, one track hooks, the other track looks like it pulls you to the right. So
I can attest that right-hand track will pull you to the right really quick.
So I don't know which one I'll be on, but I got an idea for both of them. So.
Yeah, would that be, Logan, is that the west one? Is the one on the west side the one you're talking about? If you're coming to the starting line, the one on your right's gonna dive
that would be the west side track.
That one, I can say last year, really, really tricky hole shot on that one. That was, they had a lot of rain and then no rain and then covered it and uncovered it, and it was intriguing. Definitely, took them off to the right. Yeah, the left one looks fun. But those guys at Holzhauer's, they build a premier level track no matter what. Robert Miner wants to know, would you pull west of the river? Oh, we love talking about this. Robert Miner, big Outlaw fan over here, hanging out with us. Would you come over and maybe pull in Missouri, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa a little bit?
Well, it just depends. It depends on if we got enough time. We got camping, we got deer hunting, we just farming, construction. So we're pretty much busy all the time, but never say never.
You pulled in Hammond, Louisiana. I guess technically that's west of the Mississippi, isn't it?
Oh man, that if you ain't never been to that pool, you need to go to that pool. Charlie and them down there, my God, it's probably my most favorite pool every year.
Immediately. So for a long time, my bucket list, my destination pull for a long time was Diesels and Dark Corners in White Plains, Georgia. I had to get to that one. I got to that one this last fall. And I was like, well, this is cool, but now I need a new one. I need a new pull that kind of grabs my attention. I watched that pull on Full Pull Live, and I said, bingo, no doubt about it. Stuck a button. Hammond, Louisiana will be the next one that I make my destination pull. Yeah, that one's a neat one. But the Pullers Championship, folks, if you haven't been there, and Ethan, I look forward to circling back to you after this weekend. Oh, yeah. You're in for a fun experience. Logan, you've pulled at Nashville, Illinois. Have you went and experienced the atmosphere and the vibes where they bring all the associations together? Have you been to the Pullers Championship in its current form?
I have not been to the Pullers Championship in the current form. We've been twice to Brad's standard PPL points hook, but I have not actually been able to make it to the actual Pullers Championship yet.
They market it as the outdoor Louisville, and it really, really does fit that bill. Now, does it have the prestige of having been there for 50 or 60 years the way that Freedom Hall? No. But does it have the same feel when you look down there and you see the Simon Says mod lined up next to the Cotton Candy mod, or when you see, the Mid-South puller sitting next to the Badger State puller? Very similar feel. And with it being outdoor, big raucous crowd where they can get out and pull them way north of 300. It's, folks, I really do want to tell you, this upcoming weekend, you're going to want to be there. And if you can or can't, make sure you elevate your experience next level, fullpull.us. Click on Cash Games. Those are open at this point as well. Ethan, you were a fan vote. You got in there. The fans voted you in. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot. I've had a lot of buddies at work say, how much did you pay them to vote for you? No, it means a lot to be able to pull here, just to get the opportunity, and we're excited, and I can't believe that we're actually getting to go. So.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. What's your opinion of that? Fan voting entrance. Do you like that they have the say, that the fans get to be an immediate part of it? Does that kind of take it to the next level as far as you're concerned by interacting with them?
Yeah. And I can't believe we got in, and I know we got in because somebody else couldn't make it, but it still means a lot that we're actually going to go. I like to pull there, and I like to pull at Louisville at the farm show. Ever since I've been a kid, I've always wanted to pull at Louisville farm show, and everybody tells me you got to have a resume. Well, I told Daddy, I said, well, let's try to hit some of the big ones and just see if we can't do it. So that's what our goal is.
I love that you brought up the word resume. I was talking to Logan at the beginning of the show, or maybe even off camera. That's the word I use to describe the Pullers Championship. It's really becoming, Pullers are starting to see the Pullers Championship as a resume pull. This is a place where they want to be. This is a place that they want to say, maybe show the committee there in Kentucky, say, hey, I went to the Pullers Championship, or I did well at the Pullers Championship. I looked it up. I don't remember, but I looked up last year. It was like 8 of the total winners. I think there's like 14 total winners on the weekend or something like that. 8 of them that won at the Pullers Championship last year went on to win points championships in their home divisions and their home classes. It's a pretty good indicator of the way your season's going to go. So if things get to going well early at Nashville, this might be one of those years where you can give that committee in Kentucky that resume that you're looking to build. What would that mean to you if after this 2026 we circled back around and we're interviewing you because you're on your way to Freedom Hall?
Tell you, it'd be pretty awesome. I've been going to Louisville ever since I was a kid. Daddy would get me out of school to go up there, and we've been to every pool since I was a kid, since I was probably 10 or 11 years old, and on Wednesday through Saturday, and it would just be an honor just to get the hook there.
So Chris Kilbarger's changing the subject on us, but I think our fans want to know, we can't not ask it. Your tractor's a deer hunter. You've got all your big deer behind you. He wants to know which one's your biggest buck. He said, which one's got the most times back there? And I'll ask you which one further. Which one scored the biggest out of all of them? What's your trophy buck back there?
That one right there in the center.
Yeah.
There, that's my Velvet Deer. He scored 160. But my most points, I'd say, be the second one from the left over there. It's hard to tell, but he's got 16 scoreable points.
What is this here? We'll end with this one. What's a bigger rush? Dropping a deer, opening morning. I don't know if you're a bow guy or a gun guy. If you got one in velvet, I'm assuming you're out there with the bow.
Yep.
Dropping one, just watching one just fall to the ground, or having one of those A to B passes in the tractor where you know she's walking the dog and going out the back door and you know you've got it in the bag. What's a better feeling for you?
Well, now that my kids have started hunting, watching my kids hunt.
Sure.
But just between me and the tractor, being on a good track, having a good motor in front of you, about 2 foot up in the air, just riding her out the end, that's probably the best feeling.
That's what it's all about, man. How long before, so the kids are hunting, how long before the kids start asking for a garden tractor or something? How long before we see them behind the wheel?
I got one, my middle girl, she's going to be just like me, which is scary. Now, my oldest, she can ride anything, 4-wheeler, side by side, whatever. She ain't scared of nothing. And neither is my middle one, but I say he's coming on pretty quick.
Hey, just keep in mind, these things keep you out of trouble, right? This is the best homework you can give a kid when they turn 16, isn't it?
Yep.
Bro, Logan knows. Logan, he's a junior in high school and he's driving mini rods out there. So Logan, you don't have any time to get in trouble when you're out there piloting one of these, right, bud?
You don't have any time to get in trouble and you don't have any money to do anything else. So
couldn't have said it better myself. Ethan, who do you need to thank? What shout outs do you have to give before we let you go tonight?
First of all, I need to thank my mom and dad. Without my dad and my mom, wouldn't be able to do this. They're the money. They're the back to all this. Secondly, I like to thank my wife because she puts up with all my craziness to doing all expensive hobbies. Then I'd like to thank Chad Mayhill, Brent Payne, Denny Healy, and the Rattermans for all the help that they've given me over the years, and especially with this new tractor. But just very blessed, and not a day goes by that I don't know why I'm here. It's because of my parents and doing what I love. So I like to thank them the most.
The day after Mother's Day, that's perfectly said, my man. We wish you the best of luck this weekend. Look forward to meeting you in person. We'll definitely meet up and chit-chat and share a soda and a burger or something. And good luck in 2025. And fingers crossed, one of these days, you'll be getting one of those big envelopes and be on your way to filling that dream at Louisville. Thanks for chatting with us tonight, Ethan.
Good to meet y'all.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, folks. Ethan Weston, really, really fun gentleman. Great appreciation of life. Man, he's cool, Logan. He's got the deer back there. He's got the pulling tractor. Went from a super farm to a light limited super back up to a 4-1. That's an interesting jump to me. You know, if we could put a theme on tonight's show, here's kind of what I noticed. Our first person, they talked a lot about their relationship with the Nichols family. And then, you know, we heard Ethan there talking a lot about Chad Mayhill, and he's talking about a brand new set of tires that he's going to be debuting this weekend. Of course, Nichols, Mayhill, these are our tire people. You're a puller. Are tires the name of the game right now? Are they, would you put them in the top 5 most important things you got to be checking off the box list if you're going to be competitive?
100%. And that's starting to become more and more of a big thing in the mini rod division, as some of these older sets of tires, like the older Pioneer before Mayhill ended up with them, getting eaten up in the mini rod division. But even in the mod division as a whole, with transitioning from the Pro Polars to the Mitas tires. So the technology is ever changing, and you have to stay on the forefront of innovation just to make an attempt to stay competitive on the upper levels of the sport.
I feel like if you push the time back 10 years ago and you came into you went on a winning streak, or you found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, if you had some extra cash floating around, 10 years ago, you would say, I want to put that cash towards horsepower. That's just where I want it. Now I feel like if you find yourself in that situation, you maybe say, okay, our motor's probably where it needs to be. Let's go look at our tires. Would that be correct? If you could make one adjustment only, would you look at the back of the tractor before you looked at the front of the tractor?
And really now, I think it's kind of leveled out, and people have started to look towards other stuff like weight and just the whole mechanics of the chassis, improving the way the chassis works underneath the vehicle. So the tire technology's caught up, the motor technology's caught up. The chassis is now a part that guys are starting to move stuff around, and we're starting to see big leaps and bounds on.
And I want to pick your brain more extensively when we don't have a guest waiting for us one time, but it's crazy too how quickly those can go. I know I watched an Adam Kester interview not that long ago, and he said, "Oh yeah, this chassis is like 7 years old. Like we got to get it." And I thought, that doesn't seem that old, but he was talking about, oh, this got cobwebs on it. Every chassis I've got in here, we got to completely overhaul because, like you say, staying on that cutting edge, that's where you need to be. So yeah, not only tires, horsepower 10 years ago, tires now. Logan Stevens says chassis is what we're looking at. We see this a little bit where drivers are choosing to even physically sit. We've seen with Joe Ader, of course, Tyler and Bruce Slaw pioneered it a long time ago. I think they would sit on top of their motors if PPL would allow it. But moving forward to get everything as close to keep the front end down as possible. Pulling's moving forward at a very rapid rate. One of my favorite things to do, though, is look back at everything Pulling has done for us over the years. At this point of the show, Kinsey, if we have it, do we still have it? Do we still have the cool Pulling through the past, like video entry? If you have the intro film, go ahead and play that because that's fun.
I do, but could we bring on Yarn real quick?
Is he here?
Yes, he's driving.
Brent's in here. Okay. Brent is in, but his camera's not working. Brent, do you have us, bud?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Awesome. I've
only been here for like the last hour. You guys are just completely ignoring me.
I'm
driving, so I don't have my camera on.
In the private chat. Oh, I see you over here. I'm driving, so camera isn't on. I thought, my apologies, friend, thought we had technical issues. Brent Yarn, tell us everything that we need to know about the Pullers Championship, man.
Yeah, so that's currently where I'm driving. Driving from La Crosse, Wisconsin, so it's about a 7.5 hour drive. Currently making that drive right now down to Nashville, Illinois. So, yeah, big poll coming up here, May 16th and 17th, Track of Holes hours. Hopefully it's going to be the place to be. Hopefully it has some packed stands and, have the biggest purse that we've had so far. But yeah, it's definitely shaping up to be a great show. We have record number for sponsorship dollars this year than we have had in the past. So, we definitely paid the event, and now we just need to, give some of that sponsorship dollars back and put it back into the purse, and hopefully have a record crowd to, continue to grow that purse even more. So, we're definitely going to be doing the $5,000 minimum to win again this year. Depending on how many people show up, we might increase that number. We just don't know yet. So, but yeah. Lineups have been posted. We drew those numbers last week on Wednesday. And so those have been posted as well. I think as right now we have 103 hooks for both nights. Pending anything that may have happened on Friday night now, restrict somebody from being able to pull on Saturday. But, everything's looking good. We just have to do a lot of the, final prep stuff at the track. Got to get rest of the banners printed. We got to get, all of our video boards put into place. We got to get, I got to spend a whole day painting lines for parking haulers. So that's going to be my task here over the next about 36 hours. But yeah, it's everything's really shaping up, and I really hope that everybody is able to join us this weekend. Again, it's in Nashville, Illinois. The Track of Holes hours. It's about a mile off of I-64. 6 o'clock both nights, $20 to get in. $20 also gives you access to the pits. We do have monster truck rides that will be taking place from 2 to 5 on Friday and noon to 5 on Saturday. We have, kids zone with bounce houses. That'll be, once the gates open, those will be open, as well as a kiddie pedal pull starting at 3 o'clock on Saturday. We'll have some trophies and some prizes for all the kids that do that as well. So yeah, we have plenty of vendors that'll be on site, more vendors than we've had in the past. And, really, like I said, it's really shaping up to be, the biggest year that we've had. And, I really hope that reflects with the number of people that show up and hopefully the number of people that buy the live stream. So if you can't make it in person, live stream is $25 a night or $40 for the weekend. And yeah, all we can ask is just spread the word, help us get the live stream or, get the event information to as many people as possible. And, really try to continue to make this thing grow into one of the bigger events in the country.
When you guys established this pool, is this year 5 for you? Year number 5?
This is year 4.
Year 4. So 4 years ago, when this pool debuted, the concept was amazing and ambitious at the same time. And I think everyone's kind of like, we love it on paper. What's it going to be in front of us? I feel that the attitude of the pullers has shown they're all in. They love it. This is a destination pull. This is a resume pull. I feel like we're seeing this pool really coming into its own and really kind of developing its own identity over the past couple of years. As one of the integral members of, creating this pool, Brent, what's your vibe on how this thing is developing? I mean, at year 4, are you guys right where you want to be? Do you feel you're ahead of schedule? I mean, is just all the excitement, enthusiasm still there?
Yeah, I would definitely say, we're definitely on pace to be where, we had kind of like a 5-year plan of, where we would like to see ourselves. We're definitely, we're right there on what our goal is to be. And, you kind of touched on it where the pullers are starting to get behind it now. First year it was tough. I mean, that year was extremely wet. Farming sucked. And nobody knew what this event was really going to be. And, we just kind of threw it out there and, we wanted to do something different. And it had good reception, from the fans and, a majority of the pullers. But there were some of them that were just, they just didn't want to participate the first year because they wanted to see what was going to happen. And so, first year was a little bit tough, but then the second year got a lot easier and it got, a lot better. We definitely learned from our mistakes and, the growing pains of just getting this event off and just trying to figure out what we needed to do to make this event better. So year number 2, definitely, it put us in the right direction. And then last year, it definitely put us in the right mindset that, yeah, we just need to keep at this. And I think we can turn this into something special. And, now this year, we're getting the big names. There's guys that we never thought that would commit. And now they're coming to pull with us. And, the guys like, Simons, the Sullivans, the Nelsons, and, the Hogs, some of those big names in some of these classes where they're coming to, put on a show for the fans and they're hoping to, take a little bit of money with them. So, like I said, it's a different concept, but it's definitely growing and, we're excited to see, how much it does grow this year. We don't know. We're hoping that we do at least what we did last year. That's kind of what we're basing all the numbers off of for this year is, what we did last year. But we're hoping that we're going to grow 15-20% based upon what we did last year and continue to grow the purse and grow this event. So that's kind of where we're at. And, like I said, looking forward to seeing what this weekend brings.
100% of the proceeds after all expenses are covered go back to the pullers. That's our mission at Beer Money Pulling Team. And I think almost all of us here in the social media world of truck and tractor pulling, to grow the sport, to give it back to the pullers, to get this up on par where we'd like to see it be. So yeah, pullers out there, like you said, hoping to go home with some cash. We're going to give them everything we can. Fans, this is our responsibility. Show up, shell out, pay for the live stream, come out and support them. We've seen the fans grow. The crowds last year were wonderful. They were excellent. They have a great atmosphere. As far as all the polls that I was a part of last year, this one has a very, very, engaged fan group. You're going to see some of the best iron in the country, and you're going to see pullers competing against each other that outside of Louisville don't cross paths with each other. You're going to see, Richard Morris going up against, your PPL and your NTPA two-wheel drives. You're going to see the Texas guys come up and go up against the mods from Ohio and New York. So it's got everything for it. Brent, my personal apologies. Did not mean to leave you in the green room. Thought you were having video troubles. We'll let you continue on your journey. What are your closing statements on the Pullers Championship tonight?
Yeah, I do want to address a couple things. I was listening to you guys talk with Ethan, and I don't know if Ethan's still listening or watching, but best of luck to him. Definitely looking forward to seeing him pull. That was a tractor that I got to see back in Iowa when it used to pull up in my area. So definitely looking forward to seeing that pull again. But you guys mentioned how that west track does pull to the right. Well, we're hoping that issue will be remedied. It was always more wet on that side because the people that don't know, that track is tiled, and we had some tiling issues on that, like the far right side of the west track. So we're hoping that that's going to fix the issue. And the other thing is you're talking about is, this event potentially becoming to the point where people are using it on their resumes. Well, coming to help build the track, they can go prove it to the man himself, because Mike Witt is coming to help Clinton Tucker build the track for us. So we're going to have two of the best guys in the nation that builds tracks to help us put together the best track possible. Yeah. So, we're definitely looking forward to Mike joining us and seeing what we can put together for a track. And we're hoping it's the best one yet.
Yeah, that's huge news. So Mike Witt's going to straight up say, all right, guys, show me what you can do on one of mine, basically. So you talk about it being the outdoor Louisville. Brent, it doesn't get much more outdoor Louisville than that right there.
No, he pretty much got the man in charge now. So he'll be there to
that's cool.
It all. And we're definitely excited. We heard about it probably back in like January or so, that Clint had reached out to Mike to see if he would come help him. And so, just talked to Clint here last week to make sure to see if he was still coming. And he said that he hoped so, because he's bringing the tractors. So
no, that truly is that's huge news. That's really neat. So Pullers, here it is. Show us, run what you brung and hope you brung enough. Brent, can't wait to see you this weekend, man. I'm happy and blessed to be a part of it. Guys, this really is, it's a destination pull. It's a resume pull. Fans, come out to this one. You're not going to want to miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we used everybody's feedback last year from the surveys and from the comments. And so we've added some more speakers, hopefully improve the sound system. If not, it sounds like we're going to put different speakers in there all together next year. We added more permanent bleachers. There's going to be more porta potties. We're taking that feedback that you guys are giving us, and hopefully there'll be, we added a couple more food vendors. So hopefully there's going to be more options, more food. Just those are kind of the big things. And also Pullers, we hope to have the staging and like scaling area remedied for this year. Kind of have a plan that we're going to look over when Paul and I are down there, and try to get that so it doesn't get congested back there on the west side of Jeremy's shop, the white shop that's back there, the gravel lot. And hopefully, like I said, just make those small improvements that really do mean a lot to a lot of people, and just try to set ourselves apart a little bit. And like I said, I hope everybody's able to make it. If not, please, consider purchasing the live stream. And we're doing this because we love it. We put a lot of hours in to try to make it a unique and special event, and it all comes together here this weekend. So May 16th and 17th, 6 o'clock both nights. And like I said, we have 12 classes, 103 hooks, and there'll also be a couple test hooks in some of the other classes. With Farley coming up, there's a couple guys that really wanted to get in to make some test hooks on some new vehicles. So we'll have a couple extra.
Awesome. Brent, thank you so much for everything you do. It's going to be a great weekend, man.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see you this weekend. And those that don't know, Michael is on the mic with Dan Mayer, so we have two of the best.
Hey, I appreciate it. Yep. Dan Mayer and I will be coming at you. Dan's going to be calling pull by pull. I'll be down track side. I can't wait. We'll see you, Brent. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Yep. Take care.
One thing I don't think I get that doesn't get mentioned enough with this is really what you said, Mike, and the fans need to show up for the Pullers. And this is one of those things is, say you are coming to the Pullers Championship. Bring one of your best friends that's never been to a tractor pull before.
Absolutely.
This is the best of the best iron from all across the country that you'll never see competing to get against one another anywhere else.
Absolutely. Yes, but we're always looking to bring in new fans. Let's bring on a new guest, one more guest. Kenzie, hit us with Pulling Through the Past. Scott Buss, thank you so much for waiting patiently. We had a huge show tonight. We had to get some people on here to promote the pull in Illinois this weekend. Thank you, sir, for joining us this evening. How are you today?
Good. Appreciate the invite.
Good, good. So in this part of the show, this is where I kind of just fall off the rails and I chase my kind of passion project right here. I'm a huge fan of pulling's history. I love vintage pulling photos. Very fortunate that my father attended several pulls in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Took several photos of them. We rediscovered all those photo albums recently. I've been scanning them in, trying to share them with the public. And I used to come on here and I would talk about these pictures, just kind of shooting from the hip. And then I said, you know what? I want the pullers themselves to tell the story, because I wasn't here for them. So this week, you are our featured Pulling Through the Past guest. And the original photo taken by my father, which you are 100% correct on the location of this tractor right here. Now, sir, what can you tell us about this good-looking piece of iron right here?
Well, that was our original tractor that we started with. There was 3 tractors that were made from this original tractor, you know, as time went on. But this was a starting point of basically horsepower. This is probably, I would say, in the early 80s down. And I know I'd visit with you. It's at Kirksville, Missouri. And we come down there, we pull with TPM every once in a while and try to rough them boys up a little bit. But yeah, that was always a good show down there, a good track, and it had some good competition.
Kirksville, Missouri, 1985 is the watermark on the back of this photo. I'm told there was a circle track out there. There's a Walmart Supercenter is what sits there now. I never was around to see it. Now, I've also gotten, I did a little reading. You were published about my favorite book as a kid called Truck and Tractor Pulling by Michael Bargo. And I was just flipping through it where I found this picture right here. Tell us about this photo. This is after the Screaming Demon, I'm guessing.
This would be the second generation. This was built off that same kind of chassis. It was a 4230, and this tractor was built. We updated it to the 4250 sheet metal, which is basically, in a nutshell, about the same, but to give it a little bit newer look. We updated a lot of engine components. Power went considerably up. That picture right there was in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, at the Grade A National they had up there. They used to have up there in Elkhorn. I think that pull there, I think I finished, I think I was 7th out of 35 hooks that day.
So would that be, so first of all, 35, this is a 7,500 super stock, I'm guessing. Is that what you pulled in? 35. Can you imagine going to a tractor pull now, and fans, everybody watching, how much would we love to see diesel and alky combined, 35, 8,000 pound supers pulling together? That would be amazing. What year would this photo have been taken? I'm trying to look in my book. 87?
I'm going to say it's going to be in your 90s. It's probably in middle 90s, I would say. Because that tractor, that was probably a year or two after we built that tractor and got the fancy paintwork done on it and stuff like that. And that tractor run a good long time through the 90s and touched just barely at the end of the 90s into the early 2000s. And then we upgraded that one again.
So I was raised, through the 1990s, going to the Show Me Showdown in Macon, Missouri, watching the super stocks pull. Was that the glory days and the best class there ever was in pulling? 7,500 super stocks in the mid 90s. Did it get any better than that?
Well, in my opinion, no, because you could see any color Any
Sure.
type, any kind, any fuel, and anybody could win that night. It wasn't just
Absolutely.
dominated by anybody because it was, you said show me showdown there. That would happen to be one of my sweet spots down there.
Oh, sure.
I think it was the second year that they had that. It was a grade A national down there. And that tractor you showed there, just a little newer version of that with some upgraded turbochargers on. I actually won that down there, the Missouri, that show me showdown, the grade A national. I won it that year.
On which one? On the Screaming Demon or the Demon Be Gone?
Demon Be Gone. That would be in 1987. I won that down there.
Okay. Chris Kilbarger chiming in says that was the heyday of super stock, all colors available. The book told me you guys are from Denver, Iowa. Is that where we're still based out of?
Yep.
Denver, I want to say that rings a bell to me. Is that Southwest?
Nope.
Iowa?
Denver is straight north of Waterloo, where the John Deere tractors are born and produced here. We're about 10 miles north of Waterloo here.
So are you tried and true John Deere and diesel smoke all day long? Is that where you guys are have lived your entire pulling career?
Yep. I breathe it, eat it, whatever you want to do. You bet.
So let's talk about, there were some other really good smoke blowing John Deere's back in the day. The ROPS with Iron Elk is the first one that comes to mind.
Yep.
But there was a lot of pesky stuff of different color and of different fuel types that you would have been pulling against too. You think about the Bad Medicine from right here in my neck of the woods with the 2180 white, and you think of the Slow Ride tractor as it came around later on. There with Mr. Blackburn coming out there. Lyle Hull with the Minneapolis Moline, on alcohol as well. Who were some pullers? Who was, who were you kind of always on the lookout for? Who were some of the most fun guys to pull with, or who was always chasing you? What comes to your mind when you look back at that?
We run a lot of ITPA, which was Iowa Tractor Pull Association, and that was in the 80s and 90s, that was a wonderful group of pullers. They had tremendous amount of shows here in Iowa. I guess in the super stocks, you had some guys that were kind of in regions in Iowa, but to run the whole state, I know Dennis and Matt Goodwin were very top competition. You had the Proctor brothers out of Drakesville, Iowa with the big D21. They come in and sting you once in a while. You had Roy Becker up in Cedar Rapids. You had Phil Ayward would come up out of Missouri, who's international in Finland. Would come up and pull with us quite often. Out in Western Iowa, you had Lyle Wheatley and Super Deer. So, you had, it wasn't uncommon in the state of Iowa to have a, 7,500 pound and 9,500 pound class with, 7, 8, 10 hooks every night.
You mentioned Roy Becker. That's a really fun name there. It was actually not his family, but I got in contact with his family. The person who originally owned Roy's D21, Sean Reed, his father, built that tractor originally. And then Sean asked me, is there any way you could track down what happened to Dad's tractor? And I tracked it all the way to Roy. And then my trail went cold, completely disappeared. Any idea of whatever happened to what do you call the Orange Machine or the
Orange Machine? Yep. And I talked with Roy's son about it, and I've kind of come up to a cold spot too, where I don't know where it really went to.
We thought we were hot on the trail. Someone had said that Arlen Jensen had bought maybe the rolling chassis or something to that effect.
Yeah, I know.
I talked to Arlen, and Arlen said, no, I only ever pulled the transmission out of it.
Yep.
So, but Arlen would have been another good one, I'm sure, that you pulled with, during that time period as well. So, pulling with Iowa, is that where you mainly stayed, or did you go out on the Grand National Circuit and pull for points on the GN at any point?
We stayed in Iowa, but that year that I won Macon down there is a year that we traveled the country pretty much. We went out to Columbus and Indiana State Fair, and we were out to Nebraska, all the Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri State Fairs were on that. But we traveled that year pretty good. I think I finished 10th or 9th or 10th in national points that year out of there was 30, 35 tractors, were in the point schedule, but there was probably 15 to 17 to 18, that were running it hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Back then, if you were going to be on top, you were going to have to travel a lot, win a lot, and win consistently.
Yep.
And, we even saw a lot of tractors stayed through that time, but a lot of tractors came and went, because it was such a taxing time. And what would you say are some of your career highlights? What are some of your biggest things that stand out from your time in pulling?
I guess that win in Macon was probably one of the better ones down there. That's the biggest win I've ever had. I did have a tremendous hook in Louisville, Kentucky one time. It's would have been the latest version of the tractor we made. It was an 8200 at that point. And we got accepted into Louisville with the Demon Be Gone tractor, the one you showed there. But that winter, we decided to upgrade it a bunch, and we tore it completely down to the bare frame and started with a brand new block, and we built a new motor up and completely new turbo water system from ground up. And we went to Louisville that winter with it having maybe 10 minutes of shop time running here. And I was second hook down at Louisville down there, and the first guy didn't show us anything, and I hooked on and I blew it out the gate down there. And the first thing the official did, was like, well, maybe we're a little too light, and they ended up starting the class over, which is the worst thing they could have done because I had the winning hook right there because nobody made it 30 feet from the end then when they started it over.
Oh, that's got to be a gut-wrenching feel.
Yep.
We've seen that. We've seen an indoor track. You only have so much to play with. Even in the past 10 years, I've seen that scenario play out. I'm just glad I'm never the official when that happens. That's a tough call that you have to make.
Yeah, kudos to him. He come up to me afterwards and he said, man, I apologize. He said, you had this thing one easy. And, but I came back to pull again after they started over, but I didn't know when I went out to end so fast and shut it down, my turbos chirped so much that it blew off an intake pipe on my middle charger and I couldn't build boost then.
Oh.
So that's called pulling.
You at least you can say you've stuck it in the big end at Louisville. Come heck or high water, or however you've been to a place that a lot of pullers have never been. Do you still pull it all?
No, we don't pull it all anymore. I've been out of it for probably close 20 years already.
What do you miss most about it, if anything at all? I had one puller on here say, you know what? I don't miss it. I'm happy where I am. Do you miss it?
Pulling, when it's in your blood, you can't get rid of it. It's there.
What do you miss most? What was the best?
I miss the camaraderie of the people. I mean, when we're on the track, I tell you what, even back in the day here in Iowa, when we were on the track pulling, it's all business. You're there to win, period. Yeah. But when you got off the track, then we'd have a few cold ones, and everybody start telling stories, and we'd move on to the next site. Then it was come pull time, it's business again. I miss the family, the family camaraderie that we had.
Who was the most fun? Let's go back to those glory days in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Maybe tell the world something they don't know. Who was someone that would just crack the jokes or just a joy to be around in the pits back in the day?
Yeah, undoubtedly it would be Dennis Goodwin. We lost him just a couple weeks ago.
Yes, we did.
And rest in peace, Dennis, because he was a hell of a competitor. And if you didn't have a smile on your face, he could put one on it. He would have a joke. He'd crack one up. He'd get under your skin or do whatever. But he was a champion of champions. He really was.
That's well said. I like that. We're going to have to clip that out later on. Dennis Goodwin, champion of champions. Truly said, yeah, pulling definitely lost. One of the good ones right there. His legacy has lived on very, very well by his son, Matt. Matt's actually second all time in outlaw truck and tractor pulling national championships with 10 national championships to his credit. So yeah, our thoughts, going through this season are going to be with the Goodwin family that they accomplished a lot. Scott, we had a lot of business we had to get to. I didn't get you on here as quickly as I should have. We've already ran past the time we're supposed to wrap up our show. Might have to call you personally sometime and just keep pulling. We definitely appreciate you coming on here. I'm going to give the fans one more look. So we got 1985 is what we're guessing with this great looking Screaming Demon. Boy, oh boy, has the sport changed a little bit in the past 40 years or so. And then early to mid 90s, we're guessing in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, the Demon Be Gone. You said it hooked well that day, and this tractor went on to win the Show Me Showdown, the pool where I was raised.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us. Any closing thoughts before we let you go tonight?
Well, I just appreciate you guys bringing on some of our legends, and I don't really even consider myself a legend. I was a part of a legendary era or legendary time, I think.
Yeah.
The late 80s, even the 70s, 80s, 90s. The sport was kind of, in my opinion, it was kind of developed. Horsepower was made, in simple ways. Then now, it's high tech engineering and stuff like that. But I mean, back in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that, I mean, we were making horsepower in our shop. Who'd ever thought stage turbochargers? Who'd ever thought that you had to run, 3 stages or 4 turbos and 3 stages? Who'd have thought that up? But we figured that all out in them days.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us really quick, how many blowers on this one? How many chargers under the hood?
That one there has 3. That was the top performing 3 charger setup we had.
And how about this one right here?
That one there was a lesser performing 3 that we had on that.
So honestly, surprised it was 3. I thought for sure you were going to tell me this was a 2-blower setup. So that's kind of neat.
That's a 3.
Had 3, and I did read on the book earlier, 466 cubic inch John Deere through and through that you had in that one right there. That was kind of developed down here around Mexico, Missouri, I want to say, where that 466. I think Eddie Seidenstricker might have had something to do with developing that
little
John
story.
Deere.
If you got time for a little story, that black hooded
one more.
that black hooded tractor right there was a dark horse sister to the Cajun Queen.
No kidding.
That nobody really knew about the Sid and Strichters and Van Bakens and all them down there. That it was part of that program per se, but yet not in the person's eyes. I mean, we had the same engineers up here in our shop from Deere that were out here, and a lot of that same stuff when the 466 first came out. We had one of the earliest ones, along with the Cajun Queen, in our tractor.
A lot of the sport was born and developed right. I mean, the number 466 is still synonymous with a lot of classes in pulling to this day. So it's a lot was done. Well, we appreciate you for pulling. We appreciate you for being a part of that groundwork. And I love what you said, too, a part of a legendary era, a part of a legendary time. That definitely was. A lot of them still pulling. I was telling Logan earlier, we're going to have to put 40 people in the Hall of Fame at once they all retire. Scott, this has been a ton of fun. We're going to let you get back to your night. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you much. All right, folks, that was Scott Buss on Pulling Through the Past. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 7 minutes over time. I know we try to keep this buttoned up quick so you can go join our sister show over there, Massetti and Friends out there in California. As soon as we shut this down, hop on over, keep watching that, Massetti's and Friends, the official podcast of Major League Motorsports out there. Logan, awesome show tonight. Awesome job. Look forward to co-hosting with you again in the future. You bring a lot to the show, a lot of great questions. Give us your closing statement for the evening.
No, all good. Great group of people we brought on tonight. And one theme that they said across them all, it's all about the family, about the camaraderie, and about promoting it and being the best you can be on and off the track.
Well said. Well said. Really neat to end it, too. We've got a 17-year-old puller right here co-hosting with us. We just brought on a retired legend. It spans generations. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching Let's Grow Pulling tonight. Kristie Secrest, your Friday night winner at the Hansel Sullivan Memorial Pull. Ethan Weston, he's gearing up for his first time at the Pullers Championship. And Scott Buss, man, oh man, I could talk to him for another hour. Really cool to hear his stories. And, of course, Brent Yarn coming on in the kind of incognito, faceless version. Be sure to be at the Pullers Championships, folks. Be sure to be there. This has been Let's Grow Pulling with Mike and Logan. Thanks for watching, guys.
Today,
Today.
let's talk about today.
Compare national and state level, you have to run launcher. It's wholesale.
Is
9,000.
The only mistake I made, I didn't put her rate in the registration book with the
Just this ever evolving story.